You know, I'm pretty good at picking movies that are at least decent, if not good. But every once in a while I make the mistake of watching something clearly subpar. And this is one of those cases, and it becomes apparent almost immediately. From the font used for the title to the way the opening sequence is shot. This thing just screams low quality, and while I do feel like it got better from there, it never really managed to impress me on pretty much any front, to be honest. Some elements just remained subpar, like the more horror-y, scary stuff, because apparently writer-director Castille Landon just doesn't know how to handle that sort of stuff. But some things did improve too, and there were even things I ended up liking about this. And just to give a quick summary of the basic premise here, we follow this young teenage girl who suffers from schizophrenia, and it's getting her in trouble because she keeps having these episodes, psychotic breaks, whatever you call them, and it's wreaking havoc on her family too. And because of this, she's also not sure what she can believe to be real and what's just in her head. And you know, I was hoping this would be an insightful and interesting take on the subject. But it's not particularly informative or interesting. Instead, it just feels like, like it leans on a lot of old tropes I've seen before in movies dealing with mental illness, without bringing a whole lot of new things to the table. And at the same time, it also does this thing where it feels the need to bring a whole different plot to the story. This time around the plot involves her neighbor, who also happens to be her teacher. And I'm not gonna get into details about that, but I'll just say this, the whole thing was just both unsurprising and disappointing. I mean, if you don't see it coming very early on, you're not paying attention. And I was really hoping they would subvert expectations and do something creative with it. But no, it's exactly what I expected and just made the whole thing feel super blah. And the worst part is, it makes her illness basically nothing more than a plot device, which cheapens it a lot, and it doesn't really feel like the movie takes it very seriously. However, there is at least a reveal toward the end that until a few moments earlier I didn't even suspect might be a possibility, and I always like surprises like this. So I guess bonus points for that, but at the same time it didn't really feel like it served the story very much either. I mean, it wasn't completely pointless, I get what it was doing, but it still felt a little bit redundant to me. Which I guess brings me to the overall writing, which is far from excellent. Structurally, it does work, it's far from the worst movie I've seen in that regard. But at the end of the day, it's still very much on the low end of mediocre. And when it comes to the dialogue, sometimes it's pretty decent, but for the most part it's stale and wooden. And in general, I wasn't in love with the acting in this either, although I will say that the lead girl here, Madison Iseman, wasn't bad. She did a pretty decent job with what she was given. And I actually liked Israel Broussard, who plays the sort of love interest here. He was good too, and carried enough charm for me to actually like his character as well. But he was pretty much the only thing about this that I genuinely liked. And overall, I just feel like this wasn't very good, although occasionally it crept into decent territory. But I feel like one of its biggest weaknesses was the tone and the fact that, well, it felt like it didn't really know what it wanted to be. Did it want us to take it seriously, or did it just want to make some cheap horror schlock and not even attempt to deal with the mental illness? Either way, it failed because the horror portion was just poorly executed. And it didn't really feel like it took the illness very seriously either, so yeah, this one wasn't great, and I'm genuinely surprised I had this much to say about it. Because I really didn't like it very much, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to give this one a low 5. Boop. However, would I recommend this? Yeah, no, there's really no reason to watch this, so you can probably skip this one, or perhaps don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic.